it's your boy Young I give him that thing. Control like a stand and punch it America. Banyi doang ban control like a stand and punch it America. Banyi doang ban wo kojile kankaro watana watching. Oga level like gear kwa uberai like panda with ya punch it America. Banyi doang ban chingitongo pandon kujwera baya cheka. Paku panda jwera wadia bi Panchi America, Panji Dwala, Panta Legacy.
My name is Awolich and Rajab. I'm one of the Legacy Media hosts. Please start sharing the video. My guests are here with me. Please start sharing while we're waiting for the people to join us. So I will be bringing up our guests shortly. Please start sharing. I'm about to bring up my guest, guys. Welcome, Awolich. Welcome to Legacy Media. And Rajab, welcome. John Simon, welcome to Legacy Media. So please start sharing. My guests are here now. Please start sharing the video and I will start the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I will stop because it's late now. I will stop the music. For those of you who are watching, please start share the video, and also too, before I start my show, I just want to let everybody who are watching, please, when you do your commenting, I will see your comment. When I see the comment, it's not a good thing. So this is the housekeeping rule. I would like everyone. So first thing, I'm not going to put the link in public. For those of you who are watching, if you have a question, please start put on the comment side, and I will pull up your question, and then our guests will read it, and then they will answer you. I think that is the one housekeeping rule. And second one, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. For those of you who are having a YouTube account, or you have at home, you don't have Facebook, you also can watch it live in YouTube account. For those of you and that being said, please welcome my guests. I will give a chance to my guests to introduce themselves before I start my question. My fellows colleague, welcome to Legacy Media. Please start introduce yourself. Awolich and Rajab. John Simon, welcome to Legacy Media. Please, I will give this chance to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Abraham, for welcoming us to Legacy Media. This is my second time on Legacy Media. I'm a member of the People's Coalition for Civil Action, one of the people who signed um, the declaration of the People's Coalition for Civil Action. So I'm delighted, and I look forward to interacting with you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I am Rajab Muhandis, a member of the People's Coalition for Civil Action, and also a signatory to the declaration of the coalition. This is my first time on this media, Lex State Media, and I'm extremely delighted to be here with you tonight.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to Legacy Media. My first question, I will start for the as couple of days ago, you guys put out the press release that you guys announced that for the D-Day is August 30th. Is a couple of weeks away from now. Can you tell us about it, more about what are your objective for this D-Day day?
Rajab, you go ahead.
Rajab, you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, this is coming from the declaration, and it is out of the realization that our country, which is a product of long struggles for liberation and independence, has not attained the objectives of the struggle for which people sacrificed immensely to create South Sudan as an independent state. And in over about 10 years of independence so far, not much has happened to meet the expectations and the demands of the people of South Sudan. Unfortunately, so many of our people got displaced because of violent conflicts, and the state of affairs in our country is appalling. And so the declaration calls on the people of South Sudan to come out in their numbers and demand that the situation in the country should change. And so the coalition has been leading this initiative to get the people of South Sudan to make demands to the authorities in the country that South Sudan can no longer afford to continue like this. As it stands, there is no clear path to the future, and people continue to suffer. This is not coming without a cost on the lives of the ordinary citizens of this country. It is on this basis that the Coalition for Civil Action was created, and the coalition made it very clear that it will use peaceful means to get South Sudanese to demand that the situation in the country changes. And so the date has been set, and that is the 30th of August, for us to march out to the streets of our national capital and the rest of the towns and villages and cities in the country, and to speak out to the authorities that we agree as the country and as people of South Sudan that we want to see a change in the situation in the country. It is enough with all these violent conflicts and the crisis that continue to have a heavy toll on the population and on the future of our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Abraham Walid, same question.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think my colleague has eloquently discussed the issue of the date. Yes, the 30th of August is the National Awakening Day. That is the day when the people of South Sudan will wake up to demand their rights from the government and to let their voices be heard. And so we are 2 weeks away from that. And obviously, this is what we had promised the people of South Sudan, that we were going to mobilize them and use them to demand change in the country. And so we are set and ready for that, and we are now mobilizing our people. This is not for people in Juba only. This is a call to the people of South Sudan across the world, in Juba, in the towns, in Torit, in Yei, in Bor, in Madinga Will, in Rumbek, Wow, and in Mundri, and Yambio, and Maridi, all of those places, Tumbra, for people, and Bentiu, Malakal, Reng, for people to come out and expressed their disappointment with the performance of government over the last 10 years, and also to demand an end to the conflict that has consumed the country, and demand economic conditions to be improved, and demand better salaries and payment for government employees who are now in destitute, and to pay our diplomats. And I can tell you a short story. A week ago, one of our fine diplomats in Kenya died of bleeding because she was hit by a car. She was taken to Kenyatta Hospital in Nairobi, and she spent 9 hours without treatment because the embassy of South Sudan in Kenya was unable to pay $2,000 to have her operated and to have blood transfusion, and she died very sadly. And she was going to survive that if South Sudan could afford $2,000 to take care of her, and she had not any saving of her own. Even the ambassador had no money. He could have taken money from his own account. That is the situation that we are talking about. So we want those people to be paid, and the salaries of soldiers to be increased by 4,000%. And of course, the issue of oil pollution in Upper Nile State, especially in Malud area, and in Tarjas, in Bentiu, and also in Pariang, in Ruang State, in Ruang administrative area, is a major crisis. So people are dying of many diseases, cancer, because of heavy metal pollution, and children are being born disconfigured. And so we are demanding that that mess must be cleaned up by the oil companies, and that they have to put in place a better way of managing polluted water and other waste from oil. So these are the things that we are demanding. And of course, lastly, we are demanding that both President Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar should step down, and that they should and that the whole leadership of the RT Gono should step down. If they did all of that before the 30th of August, then there would be no need for the people of South Sudan to go on the streets again. So those are the demands, and we have already listed the reasons, the disappointments of people of South Sudan in the declaration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My next question is a follow-up for like you guys are saying, okay, for the last, seeing the conflict start in 2013 until now, and you two were inside the government, were working, even though you are in South Sudan. Why many people out there are many voices out there, many people are saying that it is not possible for you guys to overthrow the current government because of result of the peace agreement that's signed. So what do you guys have to succeed your call to overthrow this government? So
okay, yes, thank you very much. Well, I am a signatory to the peace agreement, the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. I was a delegate to the peace negotiations, the high-level revitalization forum that led to the signing of this agreement. And together with colleagues in the civil society, we exerted efforts immensely to, first of all, get the agreement finalized and signed. And when it was signed, we jubilated, not only as delegates to the peace talks, but also across the country. Our people had hope that the agreement would restore stability, peace and security in our country. I have been a member of the revitalized transition, of the reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission. And in the commission, we receive all reports of the the mechanisms of the peace agreement, and also reports from the revitalized transitional government. Now, I can speak here with confidence that we have spent about 3 years in the implementation of the peace agreement, and most of the critical aspects of the peace agreement have not been implemented. And the agreement, in summary, has turned out to be a political deception to the people of South Sudan. We have seen people getting displaced, people losing lives, and the agreement was meant to address the economic situation. It is not doing that. The economic condition has continued to deteriorate in the country. The agreement was meant to strengthen the ability of government to respond to issues of insecurity, including intercommunal violence around the country. Now, people continue to die in our town, in our villages and communities because the government doesn't have sufficient security capacity to respond to these challenges around the country. Our borders continue to be threatened and encroached on, and the government is busy only with minor issues without really strengthening its capacity to govern the country fully. And on that note, we are convinced as members of the People's Coalition for Civil Action that this country cannot proceed like this. The agreement that was meant to restore peace, security, and stability is not being implemented, and therefore we cannot just sit by and continue to endure the suffering that the people have endured in South Sudan since independence without any clear path out of these challenges. We agree and respect the content of the peace agreement, that it provides opportunity for reforms and changes that would help this country move forward. Our major concern is that it is not being implemented to the letter and spirit. As you may be aware, the parties to the agreement continue to fragment. And this fragmentation is not just silent fragmentation, it is fragmentation with blood. You are aware that the recent fragmentation within one of the parties, the SPLM-AIO, caused lives, and all these things threaten the peace agreement itself. So for that reason, we feel that it is now important for the people of South Sudan to pass a verdict on this situation. They have to come out and demand that since the agreement is no longer serving its purpose or meeting its intended objectives, and the people continue to suffer, the economy continue to falter, security continue to be a problem, services are not being delivered to the people, corruption is at its peak, and we are in a country that we never expected when we celebrated our independence. So the whole situation actually threatens our very existence as people, but also as a country. And if we do not demand for changes, that this situation should change, we are likely to lose this country. And actually, as it stands now, we are losing this country bit by bit, because we are no longer fully in control of the affairs of the country, and we have lost our sovereignty and all this. So for this reason, we feel that while the agreement is an important framework for peace, it has been undermined, and therefore there is need for the people to decide on how the country moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Abraham. Oh, hang on. Let me unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be quick. The question you have asked is a very important question. That how will you be successful when other powerful people have not been successful? And our response is this: the people of South Sudan collectively are stronger than anything that exists in this world, whether be guns, be what. The collective effort of 12 million South Sudanese cannot be undermined or overcome. And so we believe that if our message is getting to our people across South Sudan, they have the ultimate power. They can change anything. And so we believe that because we are a non-violent action group, and because we believe that the country is very, very unhappy with the state of affairs presently in the country, that our people will come out and simply speak with one voice, demanding that these things that we have laid out, including the resignation of our leaders, is effected, and it will happen. Of course, some people will say the government will deploy soldiers and they will shoot civilians and all of that. They will not. They will scare people, but they will not shoot, because they know that when you shoot people, it doesn't go away. We are talking about President Bashir going to the Hague in the last 2 days. The government of Sudan has decided that they will hand over President Bashir to the ICC to be tried for crimes against humanity, which he committed in Darfur and also in South Sudan. And similar leaders who are leading the Janjaweed, they are also being handed over. So, as Martin Luther King would say, that the arc of justice is very long, but it always bends toward justice. So they know that if they were to shoot the people of South Sudan on the streets, they will pay for that in the long run, and in the end, people will win the showdown with the government. So we are asking them, which is why we have set the date very far away, to give our leaders a chance to reflect on what we are asking them to do and to begin to resign. And those people among the leaders we have listed, those of Daniel Awet, Paul Manyang, James Waniga, Taban Dengai, these are decorated veterans of the SPLA. Even Rebecca Nyandeng and President Kiir himself and Riek Machar. These are the liberators. These are men and women who liberated this country. So it is not our desire to humiliate them. You have seen how Dr. Riek Machar is being humiliated by his own people right now. Everybody is deserting him, and they are joining Gadwij Dual, because Gadwij Dual speaks the voice of people. And so we don't want them to be humiliated. They should just do the right thing, call for dialogue within the country, and hand over power peacefully, and get some guarantees and some assurances of their security and their resources and all of that, so that they can be protected and be dignified. But if they wait for too long, they will be deserted. Everybody will desert them. Right now in Juba, a lot of people are talking about the People's Coalition for Civil Action, and there is nothing else that is there on the streets in Juba that people are talking about. So people have been inspired. They think that the time has come for them to have dialogue with their leaders, and we expect high-profile resignations in the next few days. Among those we have asked to resign, some of them will listen to the voices of the people of South Sudan and do the honorable thing and call people of South Sudan and say, I'm resigning. I have listened to your voices and I'm sorry for whatever we have done. Thank you very much. And of course, those people will be treated as heroes, as they deserve. And so that is what we expect. If our leaders do that, then there will be no need for anyone to be shot at or for anyone to shoot at anyone. The leaders will do the right thing. They will call for dialogue and have peaceful transfer of power. That's all we are asking for right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question regarding about the name that you mentioned, that people are resigning and they are in your press release that you guys posted. You mentioned those people. Who are your target exactly from the name that you just mentioned? You didn't name some of the individuals, like for example, the Vice President Hussein Al-Baghi and also Akolokur. Why you didn't these two individuals and the others? Why you guys didn't mention in your press release?
Thank you. Let me tackle that, my brother, and then you will come in. First of all, Hussein Abdelbagi is a newcomer in the political scene. He came through the peace agreement. Nobody knows about him. And he has no hand in what has gone wrong in South Sudan. And so there was no need for us to just name him. Of course, if the other people resign, there will be nothing that will keep him there. The agreement would have collapsed, the government would have collapsed, so he would resign. But we are naming people that have actually failed the country. And that among them, the top of those people is President Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar. They are in different categories. They have full responsibility as president and vice president for failing the country. So we are asking for them to shoulder that responsibility and resign. The other people that we have mentioned are SPLM leaders, key SPLM leaders. We have not mentioned anybody who is not a key SPLM leader, and that is starting with Dr. Wani Iga and Mama Rebecca Nyandeng and General Taban Dengai, Honorable Daniel Awet, and also Honorable Kwal Manyang. These are the top SPLM leaders, and the country fell apart in their hands. If those of FDs and others were still in the country and they were in power, we would have asked them also to resign. So that is why we did not mention Vice President Hussein. He has no hand. He just came. He was handpicked by President Kiir to be a vice president. He did not even want to be a vice president. So he doesn't have. We are being principled here. We don't hold him accountable for some of the bad things that have happened. Now, with regard to Akolokor, maybe Tudukeo, and maybe Deng Wall and all the leaders of the military, it is absurd. In any country, you don't protest against the military leaders. They do things being ordered by the civilian heads of government, and so we have no issue with the military, with the security, with the military, with others that are appointed by the president himself. That's why we did not mention Tudukeo. We would have targeted Tudukeo as our first priority. That's why we didn't mention Akolkor. That's why we didn't mention Santino Dengwall. These are people serving and keeping the power of President Kiir through their orders. And we did not mention the IO leaders or even Angelina Teng, who is the Minister of Defense. These are people in the security. They are suffering just like the people of South Sudan. They are not politicians. So, for example, if President Kiir wake up today, he can fire a Kolokor if he wants to, or fire Dengwall, or fire anyone. But he cannot easily fire Riek Machar or James Waneiga. These are political heavyweights. So we are very specific in who we are targeting. We are targeting senior SPLM political leaders who are currently in power and who bear the greatest responsibility for the failure of the country. And it doesn't matter whether they are in IO, whether they're in FDs, or whether they are in the government. We hold them responsible collectively. So that is why we kept quiet on those other people. It is not that we are happy with them, but you have to know what you are fighting for. We are fighting a political fight, and we are not fighting with civilians. There are even businessmen we could have asked who are part of the mess. But we kept away from them because they don't make decisions. So we are dealing. There are MPs also we could have asked, but we are dealing with the executive people in the SPLM political bureau who bear the greatest responsibility for failure of the country. Those are the people we are targeting, and that is why we are silent on everyone else. Thank you very much.
Before I give that chance to Rajab to come in, I have another follow-up question that I want that you can add, and then Rajab can weigh in. So, are you a group of coalition members of SPLM party?
Well, we cannot say we are all members of the SPLM. I am a member of the SPLM, but I have been in the civil society. I have been leading a think tank, and so my job did not allow me to be an active member of the party. But definitely, I am an SPLM by by all means, whether by registration or by the fact that I joined the movement at a very young age, we have that affiliation with the SPLM. But I have not been an active member. For example, I don't have a position in the party or anything like that. But I respect the vision for which the SPLM fought and for which I fought, and the flag of the SPLM under which we fought. But all the members of the coalition are not members of the SPLM. As originally, some of them may have never joined the SPLM. Others may have been members of the SPLM and they are no longer. But none of us is an active member of the SPLM party or in any position of power or authority within the SPLM. And so I would say we are not technically, as we stand in the coalition, we are not technically members of the SPLM, we are members of the coalition. But we have that historical root and membership of the SPLM, especially me, who is speaking here.
All right. Rajab, that's your turn. Same question I asked earlier and follow-up question. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. My colleague, Comrade Awolich, has adequately responded to the first question. So I may go to the second the question or the follow-up question. We came to this coalition as by virtue of our position as citizens of South Sudan. I came from the civil society, and the coalition is open to all South Sudanese who feel that the country should move forward and that the situation in the country should change. So it is not affiliated to any political entity. And we also want to make this very clear. There are people who tend to strongly associate the coalition with individuals, with political parties or groups, or even thinking that the coalition is you know, a product of foreign entities and all this. We as South Sudanese, we have felt the situation in the country. We feel that our country is not moving in the right direction, and that is the basis for our decision to form the coalition and to call on the people of South Sudan to demand that the situation should change. This is basic. It's ordinary. It's not rocket science, and so we shoulder responsibility as individuals for the decisions that we take, and of course, each South Sudanese who joins the coalition and participates in the activities led by the coalition does so by the fact that they believe they want to see changes in our country, not that they do so because they are affiliated to any political or military or foreign entities. Thank you.
Okay, I will mix up some of my question and the audience question. There's one of the question, Rajab, there's a question that coming from the audience, Elijah Achek Panchol. So I will pull it up and read it. So he have like three questions. The first question is asking you about so he said that he have a question to you. What can South Sudanese students abroad do to support the movement? Second, how can convene those who may care to listen to the People's Coalition for the Civil Action? Will not be like the Red Card movement last year. This is a very good question because last year we know the Red Card movement a couple of years ago came out like what you guys did, and they failed. So that's very good. And number three, so I think you guys read about security forces would not respond to these peaceful protests. So this question going to you, Rajab. Go ahead and answer it.
Okay. Thank you very much. What can South Sudanese students abroad do to?
Let me put it up. Let me bring it up. Yep.
Yes, to support the activities of the coalition or to support the coalition. Number one, they are informed members of our society. They have an obligation to better inform or sensitize the rest of the population. On that note, we believe that they can read the declaration and subsequent documents of the coalition with understanding and can help explain this to the rest of the citizens. Each student is associated to a family, and to our society and to friends, and they have a responsibility to explain this to their constituents. And secondly, they can also contribute. The students are educated. They can put together statements, send messages to the leaders that they want jobs. They are not studying to remain in the foreign countries abroad. They are studying to go back and develop their countries. They want to go back to their homes and villages to live among their people, to help the society. If they study and become doctors and engineers, they have a responsibility to go and help us in our country, to treat our people, to build our roads and develop the country. And that will not be possible when the economy is in the status where it is. There are no jobs, and they may be aware that our young people are fighting NGOs for some limited small jobs in the country. Otherwise, they should send these messages to the leaders and say, yes, they do not want to see South Sudan continue in that situation. They are coming home with knowledge to help build the country, and they want a stable and secure South Sudan in order to serve their nation. The other thing is that they can also contribute to this by, similar discussions, share their views, and send their messages around that citizen and informing citizens to participate in the peaceful demonstration. This is the first time we are coming out to peacefully demand for changes in our country. All along, since 2013, it has been violence and very destructive violence. Now there is this question on what happens if the securities will respond to this peacefully or not. Now, number one, we also have a responsibility together with these students to also communicate to the security agencies. Now, they are the least paid in the world, and they are just there fighting wars that do not help to develop the country. And in that case, we want as a country to see our military well paid, very professional, and can also participate in international missions, peacekeeping around the world and all this. So we want to see our army develop. They can't just remain in this situation and fight for political leaders. So the citizens are coming out to the streets to demand for improved conditions of the economy, of the security, and the rest of the things, not only for the civilians, but also for the security sector. So it will be completely unwise for a security agent to go and shoot someone who is telling the government that the security forces should be well paid. If you get the pay of a security office, someone who gets £2,000 or £3,000, this is less than $5 a month, and this money doesn't come every month. And this is not a condition that our army, who are sacrificing to defend South Sudan, should be living in. So they should be informed to understand the purpose for this peaceful demonstration. I think these are responses. I'm not so sure if I answered the second question, but I guess yes.
Yeah, my next question going to Abraham Awolich, and you can answer too with you two later. The same question is about the red card movement. When that red card movement came out, same way you guys did like a few years ago, and from that time, red card movement didn't achieve their objective. So Abraham, what do you people are saying that okay, the People Coalition will end up like a red card movement? What do you say about that, Abraham? Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. Obviously, there is a big distinction between the Red Card movement and the People's Coalition for Civil Action. First of all, we have worked on putting this coalition together for the last 2 years. So it is not something that we got excited one afternoon and then we go out. We have done our homework very well. And we did a declaration through a press conference in Juba. And so that is how confident we are. We did a press conference in Juba declaring the founding of the coalition. And so we have a much stronger organization on the ground. And we have a lot of influence within the government. and among the citizens. So we can say that organizationally we are stronger. We have faces. The red card movement did not have faces. We are talking to you now. We have declared ourselves that we are the people who form the People's Coalition for Civil Action, even though we have hundreds or thousands of people that are not showing their faces. That is also a strategic move on our part to make sure that there are more leaders. If we get captured, or if we get arrested or get killed, those of us who are known, there are thousand more who will pick up the mantle. So we think that the People's Coalition for Civil Action will not end up like a red card movement. We are going to achieve very significant success. And if you were to be in Juba tonight, you will feel the People's Coalition for Civil Action. The town is the temperature has been raised by 2 degrees because of the pressure coming from the People's Coalition. So success is guaranteed. We are going to be successful. Obviously, it would be a mistake and unrealistic for us to tell the citizens of South Sudan that on the 30th of August, we are going to be successful on that day. That would be unrealistic. All revolutions take time. So we are only starting on the 30th of August. We may win on exactly that day, or we may win on the second day, or the third day, or the first month. You never know. But it is a struggle that we are willing to put our boots on the ground. We will be there with the people of South Sudan, and we will be speaking, we'll be inspiring them. So we think we are many degrees ahead of the red card movement in terms of our organization and in terms of our influence within the society and in terms of our communication strategy. And we are building massive movement right now. And probably next week, at the end of next week, the people of South Sudan, including the Lake State media, will be surprised to how much support we are getting from other political forces. So we are building a big momentum, a big movement. We are not we are not a social media movement. We are people's movement on the ground. And so we are not only in Juba. We have built strong bases in the states. Many states have our representative. We have cells. We have created a lot of cells across the country. And we have massive support of the people of South Sudan from diaspora, from the UK, from Australia, from the United States, from Canada, even far ends of Europe, as far as Nordic countries and Scandinavian countries. Not to speak of the refugee camps like Kakuma, refugee camps in Uganda, within Sudan, even in Ethiopia, and not to speak of our diaspora here in Africa, in Khartoum, in Egypt, in Nairobi, in Kampala. So we have our groundwork is very solid, and it is only a matter of time to prove whether we can pull this off. Obviously, the state may deploy a lot of troops on that day and scare people off, and people may not come out. If that happens, that is not the end of the world. We can reschedule it and come out with a new strategy on how to do it. So we are not a one-time event kind of thing. We are prepared to drag this on for a year, for 2 years, but we are going to be successful at the end of it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe let me add something very small. Yes, the red card movement, of course, started much earlier than the coalition, but the red card movement is also still in the struggle for a better South Sudan. So at this point, I think the colleague who asked the question should not consider that the red card movement is a failure at this point. It is still in the field, demanding that South Sudan changes. And yes, we recognize that they are still there and they are still playing their role as well. Thank you.
We don't hear you.
So I'll mute myself. Okay. So we all know that you guys, I know that you guys are calling for peaceful protests, but we all know that there's no always peaceful protests end up violent. And even here in the United States, where we at, if there is peaceful going on, and there will be a chaos in that peaceful protest. On the question that I'm asking you guys is, on August 30th, that you guys will calling the citizen of South Sudan go out on the street protest. If there is a violent breakout on that day, what will be your response? So people of South Sudan government and the national community will hold you guys accountable for the chaos and the violence. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First, we will formally put the South Sudan National Police Service on notice that the citizens will be coming out for peaceful demonstrations, calling for a change in this deplorable state of affairs in our country. And on that note, we would ask the South Sudan National Police Service to protect the property of citizens, to protect citizens and their property and vital installations, because we know that criminal elements in the country may take advantage of this situation to go around and break into people's houses or shops, especially when they are in the streets in the demonstration. So the government has a responsibility to provide protection to property and lives in the country. And anyone who engages in violence will be individually held responsible for that, because no one in the coalition will tolerate any violence and will encourage any violence. We encourage peaceful means, and we will be continuously sending messages to the people that this is meant to be peaceful, and people should just march peacefully to designated locations and express their concerns without causing any harm to anyone in the country. Thank you.
Abraham? Abraham, can you hear me? Do you want to add anything on that question before I move to the next question? Abraham, can you hear me? Okay,
Abraham, we are not getting you.
I think it's pros, it's network pros.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so let him come back. Okay, my next question is, so my next question is regarding about this Abraham will when he come back. My next question is about right now the COVID-19 pandemic is one of the crises people around the world are experiencing, and South Sudan is one of the countries that has affected the COVID-19. And you guys are calling the citizens of South Sudan go on the street. What are the major safety for the COVID-19 you guys put? This one is a violation, because I know I was in South Sudan a few months ago and I see people are not wearing masks and any other protection. And you are calling people to go out on this, the time of the COVID-19. So what you guys put in place for the safety of the citizen of South Sudan?
Okay. Well, thank you. On the issue of COVID-19, first of all, we are aware that citizens are participating in activities, in public activities. We are aware that recently we just had the swearing in of the parliament at the Freedom Hall. And if you followed on the media, you could have seen the way people engaged in this process. So public events happening in our country, that is one. The second is that in the subsequent messages that we'll be communicating to the people to participate in the demonstrations, we will be explaining the COVID-19 prevention guidelines so that people adhere to these guidelines effectively. So, and on that note, the demonstrations may not all necessarily be in one location. They will be in designated different locations so that the population that assembles in a given location is not, I mean, too much, and that will help to scale down on the risk of transmission of the disease.
All right. Welcome back, Abraham Awolich. I think the question that we are discussing is about the COVID-19 regulation. So your group are calling for the protest on the 30th of August. And we know that COVID-19 is one of the diseases that killing people around the world. So what are the safety measures for your group or to protect the citizen of South Sudan? And next question is about how if there is somebody will injure, this is for the safety question, and we'll go on with the COVID-19. And the second one is about if anybody is injured during that protest, is your group will be responsible for it?
Well, thank you very much for your questions. And with regard to the issue of COVID-19 protocols, definitely the issue of COVID-19 is an important health issue, and we definitely would not want people to risk getting COVID-19. So one of the things that we are going to do is to, first of all, ask people during the peaceful procession to keep a good distance, at least 1 meter apart. And so that is one measure that we could do. Two, obviously, face masks would have to be provided. And we are going to ask a number of organizations that are doing this to provide a face mask. We can also purchase face masks for protesters so that at least they can wear face masks while they are on procession. And people will be outside, they will be outdoors, so there will be no gathering inside. So that adds extra safety measure. And obviously the Ministry of Health and all other, the health organization and all other national organizations working in health are also invited to provide additional safety instructions for the people of South Sudan. So that is what we can say about that. We will observe COVID-19 protocols. Thank God the cases of COVID-19 in South Sudan are very low right now. And so we have not experienced another wave, but we want to keep it that way. With regards to people who will be injured, the responsibility to protect lives rests with the government. And so if somebody gets shot or get injured by another person, it is the responsibility of the state to provide protection and provide health to all citizens. But we will also put in place, in collaboration with our colleagues in the medical field, the doctors union and the medical association. We are in discussion with them to make sure that some facilities are open up to people who will be participating in the peaceful demonstrations. People can get injured in many ways. For example, somebody could stand on a stone and get to fall down and get injured, or if somebody is in the sun and they get heat stroke or whatever the case may be. All of those things beside being injured through violence are things that we have to prepare for and get our people ready for that. Yeah, so there are plans in place, but we are ordinary people of South Sudan, and this is a call of duty. Uh, we are not going to promise people that we will give them whatever they need. This is a call of duty, and a call of duty may involve risk. It is like asking our soldiers to go and fight on our behalf. So that is a risk that they are taking in defense of their country. So we are also asking our people that there are risks involved in any protest. Even if there is no police interacting with you, no one is shooting you. Just by being out there, things could happen. You can strip and you can fall down, or anything could happen. And it is a risk that people are willing to take. Just like us taking the risk to sign this declaration and speaking out, and now we are being hunted by the government. We feel that it is our civic duty to do this and to stand up for our country. So we ask the same of all our people, that we have to take a risk. Our leaders, those of Dr. John Garang and all the leaders that have died, took the risk, and they did not ask people of South Sudan to owe them anything. They simply gave their ultimate sacrifice for the defense of their country. So we are asking our people similar kind of sacrifices to be made. You cannot be a free people, a democratic people, a proud people, if you don't stand up for your rights. These are the rights of our children that we are trying to protect. And so risk is involved, but it is a risk that is worth taken by the people of South Sudan. We will provide some minimal support and protection, but much of the responsibility lies with the government of South Sudan to protect the people, give them the help they need, and make sure that government agencies and police and military do not harm the civilians. The second thing that I may say is that we are talking about peaceful protests in the 21st century. So everybody is going to have a telephone. And so whoever will initiate violence, whether it is the protesters, whether it is the police or the army, will be caught on camera. We will know exactly who started it, who injured what, who shot who. Those people will be known, and they will be held responsible. Or who broke into somebody's shop. Those people will be held accountable, because there will be a lot of phones and a lot of cameras on the streets. And we are planning on deploying those to make sure that everything is caught on camera. Whoever will take negative action. So that is what I can tell you with regard to those two questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And another follow-up question is about if there is any international organization like UN or any other community organization that are supporting you guys.
Well, any movement like this, which is politically oriented, you definitely would not invite international organizations like UN to come in. UN is a membership organization because they work with the government of that day. So we don't expect the UN to simply come and say we support the People's Coalition for Civil Action. And we don't expect any country in the region or around the world to show up and say we support the People's Coalition. But on the 30th of August, when the people of South Sudan are on the streets, they will support them. They will say we support democratic rights of citizens. We support their freedom of speech, their freedom of assembly. And that is the day when they will be there. But right now, we don't expect, and we have not mobilized any international organizations to support us to march. That is something that will be seen on the street. This is purely a national agenda, and it is the responsibility of the people of South Sudan to fix their own country. If we have friends, they will come along the way. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Rajab, there is a question coming from the audience. People are watching. is asking you guys. Let me pull it up. This question is one of the questions I pull up on the screen. It's saying that who will lead the protester when the PCCA leaders are not within the country?
Well, thank you. First of all, the People's Coalition for Civil Action has not been structured into any leadership arrangement. We have simply been working, pulling ourselves together, and organizing as individual contributors to this. And we are not just 2 or 3 or the 4 of us who signed the People's Declaration. This is there are so many members to this, and they are both in Juba and also in different parts of the country. It is only that they did not sign the declaration, and so many people may not have seen their faces or known them. And we feel that this is also positive, because if they are known, the situation that we are actually protesting against is that South Sudanese are not allowed to exercise their freedoms as provided for in the Constitution, the freedom of speech and assembly. And so on that, we feel that it's good in a strategic way to have few of us, our faces are known, but the majority of the rest of the members are not so public, but they will be playing a role. We all have equal roles we play in this, and so it's not just myself and Abraham Awolich and the other colleagues that are already known. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Abraham.
I want to add just one item. Thank you very much for that question. Obviously, first of all, we are in the country, and if that day of the protests, we will be there. We are just hiding because we don't want to be silent right now. And so on that day, when people go out, the People's Coalition leaders will be there. That is one. Number two, as my colleague has said, if we get arrested right away, or if we are unable to show up at the protest because of the difficulties that the government will put in place, we have more than 5 layers of leaders of the People's Coalition for Civil Action. Those of us who signed, and if we had already done the calculation and we knew that we could be arrested, and indeed we were right, if Rajab and I did not hide, we would be in jail now with Kwelagwer, and the People's Coalition would not have caught fire. So even if we are not there, we have the second layer of leadership that will show up, lead the people of South Sudan through the protests. If those people are arrested, the third layer of leadership will show up, and up to the 5th layer. So we have done our homework on that. So there will always be people that will lead the people of South Sudan through protests. And if at all there is no one to lead the people of South Sudan during the protests, or people that we already know, South Sudan is full of leaders. They will just show up and be there on that day. But that is not what we have planned. We have planned to have leaders around there, and don't be surprised. Some of the people who are there, who may be criticizing the People's Coalition for Civil Action, they will simply put on their jacket on the 30th and lead the people of South Sudan. So never count anyone out. So we have, that should not be an issue. We'll have leaders on the ground. More than many leaders will be there at the level of states and in Juba and in the level of counties. So we are very confident about that.
Yeah, thank you. Your list of your demand. You guys mentioned that one of the high demand is to release former Governor Kwelagwer from jail. Some people out there, they are saying that, okay, the People Coalition, they create this movement is not because of changing regime, it's because of the arrest of Governor Kwelagwer. So that is a question. And second question is, how is Governor Kwelagwer doing? How is his health? and the case, how the case going.
Well, let me start. First of all, we did not start the People's Coalition for Civil Action because of the Governor Quill being arrested. That doesn't make any sense. Governor Quill is being arrested because he started the People's Coalition for Civil Action with us and signed the declaration. And so obviously that if there is a new movement that has been established because of the arrest of Governor Quill, we are still to know. But the People's Coalition for Civil Action started before Governor Quill was arrested. So that question is not in place. With regard to the health of Governor Quill was transferred uh, on Friday from the Blue House to the Central Prison in Juba. So that is a normal place where ordinary citizens are arrested by police and they are taken there. And we heard that he has been charged with 5 counts. The lawyers have not yet disclosed those charges to us, and so we don't know. With regard to his health, there were reports that he wasn't feeling well, uh, but he is allowed to be visited now. He was allowed to be visited by his family, and for him to get food from home. So the case is still being developed. The state is still developing its charges, and we have put up a defense team, and there are many volunteers who have volunteered to defend him and his constitutional right to speak and to engage in political activities. So Governor Quill is okay. At least there were reports that he was tortured and his leg was broken. We are not able to confirm those reports, whether they are true or false. But what we can confirm is that he has been taken to the central prison and is no longer in the Blue House.
Okay. Rajab, do you want to answer the same question, or you okay? Move on.
Awolich has adequately responded to this question. I would prefer we move on.
Okay, my next question to you, Rajab, you should start from this question is regard about if like as we know, like other country, like in Western country or in Africa, for example, if there is an organization, civil organization going out to do a protest, is protest against the government or protest or any other base, you have to go to the government to ask for permission, like for example, permit, have the government permit so that the government can allow you to go outside to protest. The question is, do your group, do you guys ask the government of South Sudan a permit for you guys to protest on August 30th?
Thank you. I think in most cases, the provision is to notify the authorities. And so the protests have not started. And before they start, the South Sudan National Police Service will be notified that the People's Coalition for Civil Action is calling on people for peaceful demonstrations on the specified date. And so we are putting the National Police Service on notice and asking them to provide the necessary protection for people to that effect. So we feel that obviously this is a constitutional right to assemble, and therefore we will notify the authorities, the relevant authorities, with regard to this peaceful protest.
Thank you. Abraham, do you want to answer the same question?
No, I think he has answered it very well. It's just to remind the audience that the people of South Sudan have the sovereign power. So sovereign power means that they have the ultimate power that they can do whatever they want in their country, including to protest. And so, as Rajab has mentioned, we will notify the authorities so that they can have adequate preparation to provide security to the people of South Sudan and to provide security to the property. But we are not asking permission from the government to allow us to protest. We don't have to ask that permission because we have the sovereign power. We can do whatever we want. So, provided that it is being done within the law. And so, when they say that the people of South Sudan are sovereign, that means they have the ultimate power. Even if the state says, no, don't do this, we can still do it because that is a power vested in us, especially if it is related to our right to challenge the state and to challenge the government. Then we are given that power by the constitution. So we'll notify them so that they can prepare, because you cannot do anything without government protection. So we need protection for people to protest, so that adequate police can be deployed in critical areas, and especially in areas where the protests will take place. So we are going to issue that request probably on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. There's a question coming out from one of our viewers watching. His name is Simon Abui. Simon Abui is asking you guys that so if you take over the government, who will be in charge of the country until the election, and will hand over the power to the military, like Sudan did? Rajab?
Well,
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is a genuine concern, and in our view, the priority is to ensure that we first of all have the political authority and the political authority that has been presiding over the deplorable situation in the country stepping down, and we believe that we will need to get together as people of South Sudan and most of these different stakeholders to this, the different actors, to sit and decide how we want to have a transitional arrangement that will usher the country to, first of all, produce a constitution and then usher the country to elections in a peaceful manner. At least the country should move away from the crisis and the deplorable situation as it is now to a stable democracy. And that is something that will be decided, and people will have to sit down to agree how the country moves forward. So in that regard, we will, those of us who are from the civil society may choose to get back to our roles in the civil society. Those who are interested, who are career politicians or interested to run in politics, will be deciding how they want to see our country move forward. But the first important thing is that we have a change in the situation, and the people of South Sudan should sit down to decide how we have a transition that helps to move the country forward. Thank you.
Abraham?
yes, I think my colleague has answered it adequately. Obviously, we are not asking for President Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar and others to just say, okay, you want us to resign, thank you very much, we are going. You have your country now. Of course, it will be a negotiated exit from power. So there will be arrangements. They have a responsibility as leaders to make arrangements for people to be in charge temporarily while the political forces in the country sit down to negotiate that transition. So it is not up to the People's Coalition for Civil Action alone. There are many political forces around the country that will need to be consulted, including those in the rebellion outside the country and those who are inside the country already. So it is not. This is not a coup. So the People's Coalition is not going to take over power in Juba and then begin to arrange who is going to be a president and vice president, all of that. No, it has to be a negotiated transition by all the political forces in the country. And obviously, if the leaders listen to us to resign, they could even say, all right, give us 20 days to arrange things. You have seen in New York, Governor Cuomo resigned, and he has given 2 weeks notice to get the new leader prepared to take over. So unless they don't like South Sudan and they hate South Sudan so much, then they will announce, okay, in the next 15 minutes, we are all stepping aside and good luck. Of course, it will not happen like that. So there will be a negotiated political transition that will lead to elections. And it may involve the military as well, so that they can keep the security of the country. We don't advocate for the military to take over power at all. That would be against our principle. We want a democratic transition. We don't want a military transition. But the military obviously has to be part of that transition. Otherwise, the country would be in chaos. So the command of the military has to make sure that they protect the country during that time and provide law and order until there is a new political leadership in the country. Then they will then reorganize the army. So we are thinking about a negotiated political transition that is not abrupt and that doesn't involve the military takeover. And certainly, the People's Coalition is not set up to take power immediately on that day. It doesn't work like that. We will need to organize and turn ourselves into a political party and then be able to compete with the other parties in seeking power if we decide to become a political party. So, but there are many political forces in the country that will need to be on the table to negotiate that transition. That's what we envision, and we will be reaching out to all the forces in the country so that these ideas can be negotiated now as people get onto the streets.
Okay, so before I give a chance to my colleague Peter Ken, I would like to have this question, which is, and we'll follow up with the second question coming from our guests who are watching. My first question, the question that I'm asking: how many people you guys are expected to turn out on the D-Day? And the question coming from the guest, his name is Awot. Awot is asking you that if you guys during the D-Day set to remove the SPLM out from the power, what will be people like Awot, for example, will do?
Okay, I'll let my colleague respond. But first of all, we are not overthrowing the SPLM. The SPLM will be there, and SPLM-IO will be there, and SOA will be there. These are the political forces that we are talking about. All we are asking is that President Kiir, who is the leader of SPLM, should step down. So if he step down, there is still SPLM secretary, there is some political party, political bureau, and all of that. So there is no threat to a good position wherever that may be within the party, unless he is President Salva Kiir. Then that is a problem. We don't want him. But if he is a god as he says he is, his position remains in the SPLM, and the SPLM can reorganize itself and see if it remains popular and can contest for elections and win. Then they can get back to power. But what we want for now is that the top leaders of the party, and whichever party they are heading, it should step down now, especially those people we have listed. They need to step down and step aside, and then allow their political parties or whatever entities they have to sit together with the rest of the people of South Sudan to negotiate a future that will transition us to democracy. So that is what I can say.
All right.
Rajab, you can answer the other question and this one.
Sorry, I actually missed those questions. The voice came a bit low. I missed the questions.
Oh, the question is coming from what he's saying that, let me pull it up here. He asking you guys, so he's asking you guys, because what is one of the SPLM diehard supporter member, and he's saying that if you guys on the D-Day, if you guys go outside to protest and remove the SPLM party, what will be people like? What what the diehard Australian party will do. I think I prefer this person. So that's his
That's
person.
right.
Yeah.
Sorry, the voice again came so low to me. I wasn't able to get that.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me right now?
Really low, but yeah, just try again, maybe.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, very faint,
Okay.
but I'm getting a
Okay.
little bit.
So okay, what is asking you if your group went out in the D-Day on October 30th and take out the Australian party, what will people like what or other people other members of Australian party will do? So the question is on the screen.
Okay, well, as Abraham Awolich has explained, we are not talking about the parties getting losing membership or people resigning from the parties. We are talking about the government, and the resignation we have asked is from government positions, not positions in the SPLM. So whoever has position in the SPLM maintains their position in those respective parties.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let me give this chance to my colleague Peter Ken. I know we do this like a 1 hour interview, but it looks like we have a lot of questions coming in. So bear with me. I know it's late with you guys over there where you guys at. Peter Ken, go ahead.
Thank you, Abraham Madid, and thank you to Rajab and Abraham for tuning in to Lake State Media and all of the viewers. Uh, this uh, this is a better way to understand what you guys are doing, and so that people of South Sudan make a better choice for themselves. Whether you guys are doing the right thing or not, it is up to people of South Sudan to understand. I'm wondering if Madid have already asked this question. Uh, the question came from Boone. Boone is wondering how here you guys are, you guys are spreading your message with English. What about the popular? What about the whole population that are living in the village from Imatong to northern Bargadal and so forth that doesn't know English? How are they getting your message?
Well, thank you. You know that we speak here in English, and some of the communications we release are in English. But it's obvious that the two of us, or three, four, five people, cannot cover the entire country. So we have colleagues in those respective locations who understand and speak the local languages, and they are obviously communicating to the rest of the population in those languages in the different locations. And the second is that we have an arrangement to translate all our documents, at least in Arabic, because we have a big population that reads Arabic. And so that will be done so that those who do not read and understand English have the opportunity to read and understand Arabic. And as much as possible, we will also be translating to other local languages that we can translate to. And for your information, some of the interviews and our communications actually go out in other languages, in Arabic and also local languages as appropriate. So we are taking care of the communication and how it filters to the ordinary person in a manner that they may understand. Thank you.
Awolich?
Well, we are asking Bun to do the translation for us, and all the rest of people who are listening to us, they should do that. Part of the reason we are speaking in this language is because it is our national language. It is the official language of South Sudan. But there have been instances where we have actually spoken in local languages, and we intend to also issue our documents both in English and Arabic, and if possible, in other languages as well. But what we know is that the message get relayed to people who don't listen to us in English. They have relatives or even their own children who will sit next to them and say, "This is what the People's Coalition are saying." So we are tasking everyone to spread the message in whichever language they can have.
Okay. Another question that that has been coming up. Um, the exit of President Kiir and the rest of the government of South Sudan have started long time ago, and it actually that was the one of the reason why a person like Biara Jack ending up in a jail and ending up in exile. How different is generation exit from the people's coalition?
Well, the generation exit, which Peter Biar was talking about, is very similar. He was saying that our elders who have been in power for since 1983, and by the way, this is you have to note that some of these people have been in leadership positions since 1983, and those who were born in 1983, I think, if they are about
31.
they are almost 40 years old, isn't it? So they
83.
are, yeah. So they are either,
38.
or they have gone almost 40. Yeah. So
38.
that's, yeah. So 38 years. So that is too long. So Peter and his colleagues were advocating that we need new blood in the leadership of the country, and so it is not that Peter had called for generational exit, that he had to be exiled. Obviously, President Kiir wants to stay in power, and those who says he should go, they are either jailed or killed. So in our case, we are advocating for the step down of President Kiir. We face the same danger. That's why we are hiding, and our colleague Kwela Gwerekwel is in jail. But it doesn't mean that what we are saying is wrong. And it doesn't mean that President Kiir has always unlimited power. We think that now is different. There are more people who have listened to this message and who have concluded that this is the right thing to do. And so we think that in the end, the people of South Sudan are going to win. This round is theirs. The previous rounds have been President Kiir's rounds.
Rajab?
Well, the question has been well answered. I think we'll move on.
Okay. Okay. Um, the next question is actually from the audience. I don't know if I will read the question, but no, I will bring mine from. I will ask my own question. How sure are you really sure these people of South Sudan are going to go out protesting?
Okay, well, if you actually ask the people, as they were asked during the national dialogue, they participated in the process and they spoke out their mind. They articulated clearly what they wanted, and some of the demands that we have placed as the People's Coalition were actually drawn from the positions raised by the people, from the articulations of the people. So on that note, if the people are asked again to come and express these concerns, they will actually come en masse, partly because the situation they are going through is bad, and they will obviously come and say what they want. Definitely the challenge they face is that there may be attempts to stop them not to come to express their concerns. Otherwise, if the environment is totally free as it should be based on our constitution, most of the people will come out. Not only the ordinary citizens, even those in government positions will come out to express their concerns. Thank you.
Okay. The next question. After a D-Day, if there is no progress happen, what will be the next step?
Okay, good. Well, we do not expect that the D-Day is the final day. It is the beginning, and demands will continue to be raised, and strategies will continue to be adjusted. And so the D-Day is the beginning. It is not the end. And so we will keep adjusting strategies as we move on. As you may recall, when our current leaders went to liberate South Sudan in 1983, 16th May did not mark the first and the last day of the process of the revolution. So it's the same thing. So we will continue to escalate the demand until these demands are met. Thank you.
Abraham.
Yes, could you repeat the question again?
After D-Day, if there is no progress, what the next step?
Oh, okay. So we have said previously that this is a long-term process. So the D-Day is just the beginning. So we may get 50,000 people, we may get 500 people, we may get 100 people on the street, whichever the case may be. That is just the beginning. We will also expect that the government will respond with heavy-handedness and will scare people. We anticipate that. But we will continue to do this until that critical mass comes out and force the government to do what we demand to do. And so we are prepared for a much longer period of struggle. So the D-Day is simply a day of starting, and we can start with whichever number of people that will show up and brave it out on that day. But we will continue from there. Every day after the 30th of August will be a day of protest. So we will assess what happened that day and re-strategize and launch again. And the government will respond. We will take our time, strategize, and launch again. So it will be an endless process until we reach that critical mass and until the government gives in. So it is just going to be the beginning.
Okay, and that will follow the question from audience. Is it is the protest going to take place only in Juba, or is it going to take place across all the state in the capital, or where? What is it? Is it just only particularly in Juba, or?
Uh, yes. So Rajab, go ahead.
Well, this is meant to take place across the country. It will be at the national capital, Juba, and also in the cities and towns across the country. So it is not limited to Juba.
That's sufficient. Yeah. So it is a nationwide. It's a nationwide process. So, and we are asking people also, those in diaspora also, they can organize themselves and also do demonstration, and people in the refugee camps, in the IDP camps, and even those in the East African diaspora in Sudan and in Egypt, they should all come out and show their solidarity with their people inside the country.
Um, and this question is coming from audience. Came from Aryom Makur as Awolich and Rajab Simon. Is this not going to divide the people of South Sudan to travel line or the state, because some of the state wouldn't be allowed themselves to protest against President Kiir? For example, like what rap, is that true?
Well, thank you for raising this question. The purpose, one reason for which we are calling on this peaceful protest is because our country is fragmenting. If you see the way things are now, we are more divided than we were ever before. And we see a danger in our country going like this, because then we will completely fragment and even collapse in this manner. We want ourselves to unite as people of South Sudan, partly because of this People's Coalition for Civil Action. I got the opportunity to come to this platform for the first time. And I see this as building bridges among ourselves. We are focusing not on President Kiir as an individual or as a community. This should be made very clear. We are talking about the deplorable state of affairs in South Sudan that is affecting all South Sudanese, not one person, not one community. And so when you look at the document that we released, we are calling on a number of people to step down, because we feel that we should reorganize ourselves as a country, and that we should move together in a better way. So it should not be considered on any sectoral basis. This is a national call, and it is meant to be so. Thank you.
Well, if I can say a word or two, definitely it is these divisions that have been created by President Salva Kiir himself and Dr. Riek Machar that we are trying to break. We want to break from that. They have placed us in a hostage situation where if you break away from each of the groups, they will say you are going to collude with the other. But now they have been caught unprepared. The people of IO, they have come out to disown Dr. Riek Machar because they have realized that he has been playing games with them. And the same thing, people have discovered President Kiir that he has been playing games, and so this divide and rule situation is out of the window. It is not there. There is no market for it, and so the people of South Sudan are sick and tired of the political situation that they are facing in the country, of the economic situation, of the security situation. And so there is no space for any one of them to appeal to their ethnic community to come and and help them. It is the ordinary people against those who are benefiting from the benefit from the state. So there, we don't anticipate that. But obviously, the state has a capacity to do that. They could foment ethnic divisions, and so we are appealing to our people to stop doing that. There is no group against another group here. This is a collision of ordinary people who are fed up, who want better life for themselves. They want better health. They want better education. They want security. They want government to be present to protect them. And so all of those things are needed regardless of what your ethnicity or tribe is. So we don't anticipate any tribal divisions that will happen that President Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar have not already created. In fact, that is what we are trying to break. And so we don't anticipate any tribal conflict that is going to break out on the D-Day. We don't anticipate that.
Okay. Um, the other question that I have here, did you guys reach out to all those who are actually still holding arm? For example, the IOCAM that have a different factions that are now took up arm to tell them, hey, this is the way you're supposed to do it. You put a gun down, go on the street and say, this is how we do it all over the world. Did you guys reach out to them or not? To tell them?
Go ahead, Raja.
Yes, well, we released this declaration appealing to all South Sudanese. On the same day the declaration was released, we also released an invitation. And this invitation called on all South Sudanese citizens as ordinary citizens, but also all the political forces that we need to use peaceful means to demand for these changes in our country. And we invite them, those who feel that the situation in the country isn't good, to join the People's Coalition for peaceful means of raising our voices to call for changes in the situation in the country. We made this as a public appeal, and we have received, we have seen on the social media statements from different political parties calling on the release of Honorable Kwela Guer, and also saying, yes, they agree with our articulation of the situation and the alternative of peaceful means that we are offering. So we have seen these statements, and we are going to make another call, another invitation to the people. We will include these parties as well, and we extend a message to them without reservations that they should all abandon violence, that South Sudanese should not shed blood again. We have suffered enough, we have died enough, we have bled enough, and it is time for us to speak to ourselves by peaceful means so that we change the situation in our country. We should not be seen and known for violence. We should also be seen and known for talking and listening to ourselves, and dialoguing among ourselves to address our problems. Thank you.
Maybe I just say a word or two. My colleague has adequately answered this. Now, if the people of South Sudan come out in their large numbers and demand change, the people who are carrying guns will have no reason to continue, because they will have been notified that change actually has already happened, the change that they seek in the bushes. And so for now, we definitely will be engaging all the political forces within the country, including those who carry arms. And we have reached out, and they have reached out to us, those who are not carrying arms and who are seeking non-violence mode of change. And I have already said that probably next week there will be something about these political forces coming out to work together toward realizing the change that the People's Coalition is advocating for. For those who are carrying arms, obviously, carrying arms is contrary directly to our core mission, which is that we want to do this non-violently. So we'll engage them for two reasons. One, because they are stakeholders and they have a right to know or to be informed about what is going on in the country. So we'll engage them so that if we are able to succeed in realizing a new transition, they should be part of it. And that means they would have to abandon arms struggle and rebellion and come back to the country and join the political forces to participate in the transition and also to participate in upcoming elections. So we'll engage them, but we are not going to engage them to form alliance now because we are not able to. We are not armed group, but we will engage them to gauge their views and opinions on how they think South Sudan should make a transition if the coalition is successful in calling out the people of South Sudan. And it is getting late here, so we can take two more questions.
Two more questions. Okay. Let me see if I will pull one out from audience, and one will be my own last question. Madit, if you are around, just be on standby. Okay. So much of the money question here are already being asked, and I don't want to waste time doing that. This one have already been asked. Uh, this already has. I have this one from the public, which I will ask. Uh, it's one in two. How often will you guys be visiting all the such? Well, Lagos State media, probably not only Lagos State media that you guys are in. Probably you guys are on the other social media as well. How often will you guys be doing that? And how safe is your leadership or the the people coalition in general leadership? How safe are you guys?
Yeah,
And maybe I have
Rajab,
one
go ahead.
answer
Yes,
one
well,
question.
okay, thank you. We will be coming on this media as often as we can. And it may not only be the two of us. We have other members who may be also coming. So you may have other colleagues coming, and those of us who are here now coming. And but we would be happy to always come and update you, especially on the progress of activities of the coalition. That is one. The second is, how safe are we? We are as safe as the people of South Sudan would understand that we need to dialogue and talk to ourselves and listen to ourselves, and not use violence against ourselves. As if we are able to get this very clear at all levels, I think we will be safe, not only those of us who are members of the coalition, but all citizens. The second thing is, we will be safe as long as our authorities have the capacity to handle security in our country. Otherwise, it's not only the members of the coalition who face insecurity, it is the entire country that faces insecurity. I come from Western Equatoria. In the last couple of weeks, we have had very serious issues in Tambura, and so many lives were lost. Those were not members of the coalition, but they just lost their lives, and it's happening in so many parts of the country. And this is why the coalition is demanding for changes in our country. Thank you.
Well, with regard to our security, obviously, the state is very powerful, has a lot of tools in their hands, and so we cannot say we are 100% safe, but we are confident now as we speak that we are safe, and we will continue to speak to the people of South Sudan from our various places where we are hiding. So we can guarantee that there is no threat now to us. And we have also said before, even if we were to be apprehended or get killed, we have another leadership layer that is not known. They will pick it up and they will press forward with the mission and vision of the coalition. But for now, we feel very confident in our security. We are okay. There is no need to worry right now.
Mm.
Okay.
Uh,
All
uh,
right.
Madid, so this will wrap up, and this will be my last question. Madid will take it from there. I know it's really late for you guys, probably almost 3 in the morning. I believe so. If not so, the last question is, what? How would you assure people of South Sudan if nobody support collusion? What are they going to expect in the next few years if everybody said, well, who care about people collision, whatever gone, what are the consequences?
Well, thank you. We want people to look at the situation in the country, to focus on the issues more than focusing on the coalition or the members of the coalition. The issues have been articulated, not only in the declaration released by the coalition, but these issues have been historically documented in the documents of the struggle for our independence. It's very clear in all those documents, in our constitution, how we should be governing ourselves, the mandate of our government, and all this. We have missed almost all those targets. If you go to look at the negative indices, the most fragile state, the most corrupt state, and all these things, poverty and all these negative indicators, we top those lists. So we are talking about national issues that affect us and our lives, and that should be the focus. And because the coalition has articulated clearly that this has happened for the last 10 years, and we do not want another 10 years of a similar situation, we appeal to citizens to see it as their responsibility, but not just a responsibility of the coalition. So that is the perspective from which we would invite citizens to participate in the peaceful demonstrations, demanding that we collectively get this situation improved. Thank you.
I think my colleague has adequately answered the question. I can simply say few things. One, if the people of South Sudan, of course, are not ready at this time to rise up and demand their rights, it doesn't mean that that is the end of it. They will always rise up at any time and demand their rights. So part of our job now is to sensitize them to raise those issues which my colleague Rajab Mohandis has talked about. Persistent insecurity, poverty. In 2009, when what they call National Household Survey was conducted, it was found that 50.6% of our population was below poverty line. Now, in 2021, based on the estimates of the World Bank, 82% of our population are under poverty line. So that means Rajab Mandis and myself are now under poverty line. And so if we are under poverty line, can you imagine what the situation of the other citizens are? So our people, 30% more than before we got our independence are in poverty now. That should not be the case. In fact, we should be talking about 20% now of people being below poverty line and 80% of people being above poverty line. And we think that the World Bank estimates are very conservative. In fact, people who are under poverty now are probably about 88 to 90%, given the current economic situation. So if the people of South Sudan don't rise up, it is possible that we may get 95% of our people will fall below poverty line. I have not done the percentage of people who are displaced, who are not in the country now, but I would assume that it is about 1/3 of our people. So maybe another third will be displaced, and so half of the country will be living outside. And of course, persistent issues of cattle raiding, child abduction, communal violence will continue to persist, and corruption will continue to thrive, and our soldiers will continue to survive by cutting down trees and making charcoal for sale in order to feed their own children. And then they go without boots, no bullets, no food, no money. These are the issues, and of course we have to be prepared to be subjects of our dictators. So we will be building a dictatorship in South Sudan where there will be only one man who speaks and everyone else bow down to him or her. If that is the country that we fought for, then the people of South Sudan should not bother to come out. But if this is a country that is totally opposite of what we fought for, then we expect the people of South Sudan to come out in large numbers. And if we want to end this tribal setup where each tribe is set up to fight another, it has been obviously the Nuers against the Dinka, then the Shuluk against the Dinka, and now even in Western Equatoria, the Balanda and the Zande are being set up to fight one another. So these are things that will continue to happen, and the resources, especially money come from our oil, will continue to be deposited in individual accounts, and we'll just be watching them driving big cars, having mansions, yet we will be living in our tukuls and going to bed without food and all of that. These are the things that we are standing against We want these things to change. We want the lives of our people to be improved. And that is why we think that enough is enough. The leadership must get down and we must get new leaders and a new day for our people. So we think that the options are very bad for the people of South Sudan. So I think they will choose to come out in large numbers on the 30th of August. Thank you very much.
All right, and that will include my interview at this time. Abraham Adit, you can pick it up from here.
Thank you, Peter Ken, and thank you, our guests. This should be the last wrap up. So my last question that will be the last, and then we will close up the show. We have 5 minutes. So, Rajab and Abraham, this is my last question. You know, you guys are a fan of the soccer or football, as you call it, right? So, and I hope you guys play when you guys were young, a sport. So when you like for example, I'm not a good football player, but I'm a fan. I watch when I watch in the TV or in some people are playing in the field. I always say when somebody kick the ball and he miss it, I say, "Oh, why you didn't kick that way? Kick other way." So, and I'm outside. I'm not inside in the field, but and they know what are they doing. But outside here, or the wrestling, for example. So when people are wrestling and then you didn't catch somebody good way that you can tackle them down. You say, put, like for example, they say, "Oh, why don't you use other techniques so that you can?" But you don't know what that guy's in. My question is this: President Salva Kiir government, people were accusing him. Oh, President Salva Kiir is not doing a good job. The government is failing. We people outside, we always criticize the government. Oh, government is not doing a good job. It's led a bit, but we are not inside. What the president and the government are facing, we don't know, but we criticize them. My question is, Brother Rajab and Abraham Awolich, what is, so this is a question, how would you think you can be a good leaders for South Sudan than the current government?
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, you've provided very relevant examples of the soccer, and in soccer, usually when you play and you are scoring against yourselves, you are scoring your own goals. Your team, the coach will definitely demand that you are taken out. So you may be replaced in that manner. Or if you cannot run well and you are not performing to the expectation, the team is not going to keep you there because they do not know what you are doing inside. The manager will not just say, "Okay, let's proceed like that." There will be a decision that another member of the team who is on the bench, who is maybe watching from outside, should get into the field and take over, and then you come and sit on the bench. So in this situation, if the president and the vice president and some of the leaders have serious challenges that hampers their work, then it is about time to think that there are many South Sudanese who could also help to substitute and see how it moves. At this point, there are very simple things that seem to be really stopping these leaders from making progress. One of them is the issue of trust and confidence. I sit in the RJMEC, and we were informed in the RJMEC that there are arrangements ongoing for these leaders to be taken to one of the neighboring countries just to have a retreat so that they can be helped by their peers in the region to build confidence and trust among themselves, so that they can talk to each other well, and then they can govern the country and implement the agreement and change the situation. Now, if it is only talking to themselves that is failing them, there are many South Sudanese who have no problem talking to themselves at all. And so we cannot keep the country hostage just because few of our citizens or our leaders do not want to talk to themselves or do not have trust among themselves. So there are minor things that the leaders are not overcoming at all. And that makes it difficult for them to lead the country. And it's for this reason that we are stuck in this situation, the vicious cycle of conflicts and economic collapse and all these challenges with millions of our citizens, honestly, languishing in refugee camps and IDP camps. And so there is need for the country to move forward. We have many players and competent players, and some of them are on the bench. And the people should decide that we should have a change so that some of these players help to play the game well and score for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abraham. I think that is a fantastic question and a fantastic analogy. And my friend and colleague Raja Mohandis has given a very nice question answer to it. What I can say is that definitely in any game, people get old. Um, my favorite player was Kobe Bryant, who played basketball, and unfortunately, he had to die. But he died after he retired. Um, he was still a very good player, but he cannot run very well anymore. And so he had to see that, okay, we have to get new blood. Otherwise, those of Michael Jordan would still be playing now, and those of Charles Berkeley would still be playing. And so we are saying the time for President Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar has come. How do you know if somebody is a good leader? There is no one formula for getting good leaders. What citizens want is that their basic needs are met. If you are able to do that, even if you are a bad leader, you will have difficulty with mobilize people and say, this guy is a bad leader. So you only know that leaders are not doing a good job if citizens are not happy, if citizens are demanding very basic things and they are not able to get. And so, yes, President Kiir may be facing some challenges inside, but that is true for all presidents. But leadership matters. Leadership matters. Take, for example, when President Trump was president in the United States, the way he handled the COVID-19, and thousands of American people died. But when Joe Biden came, coronavirus is still there. It's getting bad. There are even new variants. But things change. After new leadership came in, new policies was implemented, and new measures were taken. And American citizens now feel a little bit more secure. They don't complain anymore that the president has lost control of COVID-19. That used to be the case with Trump. People used to say he lost control of COVID-19. So leadership matters. And we are saying President Kiir has served the country for his entire life. He went into the bush in the 1960s, maybe 1969 or 1968 to join the Anyanya One. And then he served for the entire period of 1983 up to now, which is 38 years. And so we are simply saying the president is no longer useful at this time. He has overstayed, and he is no longer able to do the job that is expected of him. And he is so angry and mad at people who he feel that he has been betrayed by his colleagues, and he doesn't trust Dr. Riek Machar. And so they just can't move the country forward. Otherwise, in fact, you and us here, the four of us who are on this show, you, the two hosts, and the two of us, people are still relatively young. We should be busy making a good life, having parties and enjoying life. And there is no need to crack our heads on politics if the situation was good. But we are doing this. We are cracking our heads now for a number of hours because things are not going well in our country. And they are not going well in the hands of President Kiir. And that is why we are justified for his exit, and the exit of his vice president, Dr. Riek Machar, and the other vice presidents. They have not delivered well. And so it is time to bring in new players with new blood, fresh legs, so that we can score the goal of development, unity, and peace in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. My before I close up the show, I will give you guys a 1 minute closing statement. Rajab, I will give you this 1 minute to put in your closing statement.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, it has been a pleasure joining you on this important media to discuss our national issues. It has been a privilege to share our views as members of the People's Coalition for Civil Action. And in this concluding remark, I want to call on all our citizens to note that this call from the People's Coalition is meant for us to determine how our country moves forward, that we have wasted 10 years of our independence, the first decade, and it was not beneficial to us as a country, and we cannot afford another 10 years that's ahead of us. So we need to spend this time to correct the challenges, the mistakes that have hampered progress in our country, so that we're able to make progress and develop and move forward, just like other countries are making progress around us. Thank you.
Thank you, Abraham.
Well, thank you very much, Lake State Media, Abraham and Peter Kenny, for inviting us to this show. And thank you to all the listeners, the people of South Sudan around the world. We want to appreciate you for the massive outpour of support to the People's Coalition for Civil Action. And we also want to appreciate you for all your prayers and concerns about our safety. These times are hard times in our country, and what we need is unity of the people of South Sudan. What we need is a new day, and that new day is in our hands. It is no longer in the hands of IGAD. It is no longer in the hands of Troika or the United States. It is no longer in the hands of President Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar and his government. That new day is in our hands. And so that is why we are inviting you to come out in large numbers on the 30th of August, 2021, to simply tell our leaders that thank you very much for your service. It is now time for us to get our new leaders through a new transition. And of course, don't be scared by anyone. Even if they were to deploy tanks and heavy machine guns, they will not shoot them that day. They will not shoot you. They know that they will be taken to International Criminal Court if they were to kill you. And they will be arrested actually by international forces that are around there. So they will scare you with a lot of guns and a lot of soldiers on the street, but they will not shoot you. They know what the consequences are. The soldiers themselves will not shoot you because they will actually be clapping hands for you because you are standing up for them. Because their own protocol does not allow them to protest, but they will join you. They will protect you. So we want our people to come out in large numbers, make a statement, non-violently, not breaking any glass or any window or not stepping on anyone's foot. And they should be waving and greeting our soldiers while they stand by on the street. They should not be scared of them. So that's what I can say, and we will be there with you. We are not running away from this responsibility. We'll be there to address any questions, concerns arising out of that day. We'll be there from the beginning to the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. And this is the end of our interview. we hope Lake State Media will probably gonna bring you guys back maybe after August 30th and ask you guys how the protest went. So, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. I will let you guys go. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for coming, Lake State Media.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, have a good day.
Have a good night. Yeah, you too. So, yeah. Peter, before we do the show, we need to send out the, we are open to the government. So this media is for everyone. We want to hear from the government side. We are sending out if the government can respond to this group. It will be good. We are open to invite the government representative to respond to the coalition group. I think this is the one that I want to say before I close the show. Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, I will respond to. I will respond to a couple comments from people and a few individuals. First of all, for those who are actually always pointing finger and call people name, sometimes calling people a name and pointing a finger at individual is not a way to go about. We are open. It is we always reach out to government of South Sudan, but for whatever reason they don't respond to us. Two, for those who have already accused her that we are supporting the coalition, it is your opinion. I am not going to change it. Madid is not going to change it, or anybody here at Lake State Media. So there are two different things: a person who wants to pick up the gun and the person that doesn't want to pick a gun. If you think that us bringing them here is we support them, my child, it's your opinion. And we all have a freedom of speech. I can be here and I have my own freedom of speech of what I want to say in South Sudan. So, Dr. Riz Arab, for sure that's not your real name, whatever you call yourself, that's your opinion and carry on with it. Other than that, if anyone from government of South Sudan want to respond, we are here and open almost 24/7 anytime. You are welcome to respond to the coalition. Usually they turn down our call, so it is up to them. Until then, thank you, Wadid, and you can pick up from here.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. You put it right, Peter, because our people need to understand the media is not. It don't take a side. That's why they said the media is a media. So you can hear every other side of the story. So if somebody came and want to publish his story or her story, it's feel free to welcome even your enemy. So even your enemy you can welcome. So that's called a freedom of speech. So and our people need to know this, and this is how our country is a long way to go, because our people need to know that if you interview the rapper, for example, or somebody who against the government, or you, how many people have accused me here in this social media that I'm a government supporter when I disagree with the rebels. So they always say that, but I'm a concerned citizen and I want to hear the both sides. So this is how the progress and development can come in our country. So please, so that bear in mind, our people. So thank you, Peter, and I hope we will see we will bring the government members again. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you.
If anybody want to claim that he want to respond on behalf of government of South Sudan, you are welcome. Otherwise, stop giving me a headache, because we reach out to government of South Sudan and they don't respond. So if you want to respond, and we'll bring you out.
when I jam along, I did I didn't my job, the Maku, Kalaboli, who I tell him, Magarity, Kela, the man, when the man go, I think they keep Kalabuka, the boy. I yell in your queen, Jamana, when I jam along, I did Kalabarani. I didn't my job, the Maku, Kalaboli, who I tell him, Magarity, Kela, the man, when the man go, I think they keep Kalabuka, the boy. I yell in your queen, Jamana, when I jam along, I did Kalabarani. I didn't my job, the Maku, Kalaboli, who I tell him, Magarity, Kela, the man, when the man go.
Thank you guys for watching.
It's your boy, young I give him that thing. Punch like a stand, punch it America. Banyi doll, banaban, punch like a stand, punch it America. Banyi doll, banaban, walk on your leg, kankaro water no watching. Oga level leg, gear, pow, very leg. Panda with ya, punch it America. Banyi doll, bano, chingatongo pandon, could you ever buy a check out? Papu panda, you what ya be. Punch it America, punch it all, pan, punch it like a stand.